from Bristol Motor Speedway, you are watching News Channel 11 in your corner.
Thousands converge on the Bristol Motor Speedway this evening to celebrate racing.
All right, welcome back. A great afternoon here. Just looking at some high clouds. And before we start the weather, I want to say hi to the Boyd family here. We have Joseph and Clay and Mom and Dad, and they are from Panama City. This is what I like the most. Look at that, Florida State. Love that. Got to love that here in Tennessee.
Here at the track, social media dominates, keeps fans, drivers, race teams, everybody in the know of what's happening on the track and off the track, especially behind the scenes. And specifically, we're talking about Twitter.
I love Twitter, and I know you're on it, and I got my phone out tweeting as we go. We want to know what you are doing here at Food City Race Night during race weekend. You can find us on Twitter. It's at WJHL 11.
And this is what Friday night's all about. Talk about the great fans that come out to meet you guys.
Yeah, a bunch of fans coming out. Great clips cutting the air over to the right. And then we have a bunch of fans behind us in line to come through here. And so it's good. It's a nice deal.
Have a wonderful race weekend.
We'll see you soon, everybody.
Good night.
Live from Bristol Motor Speedway, you are watching Trackside.
Race fans getting revved up here in Thunder Valley tonight, and the News Channel 11 sports team is getting you ready for racing at the world's fastest half-mile oval. I'm Kenny Hawkins, and welcome everyone to Trackside here at Bristol. Welcome to the blender known as Bristol. Here's the recipe. Take 43 drivers at a whole lot of speed. Don't ration the rubbing. And throw in a bushel of bumping. Mix it all together, and you get a generous helping of temper tantrums. Sometimes fist fights. The high banks of Bristol can make a driver with nerves of steel crumble.
Nobody's going to have a good attitude about getting wrecked.
And this half-mile track is also a place where legends are made. The last great Coliseum. Lightning in a bottle. The crown jewel of NASCAR. She's known by many names, but one thing is for certain. Bristol is intense.
Severe storms hit the Tri-Cities region hard, flooding cars, homes, and businesses.
Tonight, we are spread out across the region to bring you team coverage.
You're watching News Channel 11 in your corner at 11.
Good evening, I'm Sarah Diamond.
And I'm Josh Smith. We are in your corner tonight with that team coverage of the flash flooding that's causing problems really all across the region tonight. Let's begin with Chief Meteorologist Mark Reynolds. Mark, tell us, when's this rain coming to an end?
Josh, I think the rain's going to continue for a couple hours, especially over parts of the northern viewing area. And take a look. We're still looking at aerial flood warnings here. These are for Scott County, Hawkins County, also into Sullivan County until midnight. Also looking at flood warnings for northwestern North Carolina.
Thanks, Mark. Take a look at these scenes from downtown Kingsport. Unprecedented flooding there. Streets too numerous to mention. Impassable. More than a foot of water in many areas. Cars were flooded up to the doors. Just about all of the businesses along Market Street had water inside. For those who were at work at the time, the flood came with little warning.
A lot of trouble in Piney Flats tonight. You're looking at video just in from Highway 11E, a highway that had been closed in both directions. At this hour, though, traffic is moving again, we're told, and that was the real concern. Johnson City Police said the strong storms ripped off part of Torbett's greenhouse, and debris flew onto Highway 11E, piercing a vehicle. Investigators report 2 people in that car had serious injuries. We will update you on the investigation tonight at 11 o'clock. News and update tonight to a story we first told you about last night at 5. Johnson City Police say a 10-year-old girl died after a strong storm ripped a metal roof off a Piney Flats greenhouse and sent debris into the car in which she was traveling. Emergency vehicles rushed to the 6100 block of Highway 11E around 5 last night, moments after heavy rain and incredibly strong winds hit the Piney Flats area. Police said the wind picked up the roof from a massive section of the building, a metal roof from the F.J. Torbett plant farm. Sent it right onto Highway 11E, and it hit a car driven by Tammy McCamey, who received serious injuries. McCamey's 10-year-old daughter, Shelby, was sitting in the back passenger seat. She was rushed to the Johnson City Medical Center, where she died.
So we usually just use this to scoop up any trash we see. But recently I told my boys, if they're out in the cove on their kayak to pick up any trash, we'll throw it away. But then a friend in law enforcement told us, well, don't ever pick up any of the empty soda bottles or pop bottles because they could be remnants of a meth lab and be very dangerous. They could even possibly explode.
While some folks like the Jenkins are taking that precaution of not picking up bottles out of the lake at all, some people have learned the lesson the hard way. People like Aaron Warren of Johnson City, who got burned when he opened up a shake and bake meth bottle he found here in Boone Lake in 2011.
I work for Boone Lake Association. We were picking up trash along the shoreline over at Rainbow Bridge, and I had walked up on a Powerade bottle, and I would always unscrew the caps to pour the water out where I didn't have to carry water weight. And when I unscrewed the cap, it blew up and landed on my thumb and my forefinger.
Did it burn you?
Yeah, it burned holes in my skin.
Well, single parents, the elderly, people with disabilities, housing authorities are supposed to be there to help low-income families that can barely get by.
But a community watchdog investigation uncovered the people who need the help most. We're talking people who make on average around $11,000 a year are in some cases on a lengthy waiting list, while those who've conquered poverty are in some cases really taking advantage of your tax dollars.
We found 67 housing authority households across the region that are above federal poverty guidelines, even after you consider the number of people living in the home.
And of those, children in 48 government apartments don't even qualify for free and reduced lunches. 12 families make more than $50,000 a year. One in Bristol, Tennessee has lived in public housing for 17 years. In this special community watchdog report, Nate Morabito found out some government renters may be overstaying their welcome.
This is not what I wanted for my family.
Yet here Brittany DeLargy sits outside the Johnson City Housing Authority with her 3-year-old son and a baby on the way.
You got to do what you got to do when you're a mama and a wife.
With her husband out of a job and her income just $800 a month, her family is behind on rent and will soon have to leave this house.
I really need to get in somewhere immediately, especially with me being pregnant and having a 3-year-old. I don't want to be homeless with them.
That brings her here to fill out an application for government housing. She joins a waiting list of 215 other people just like her, desperate to find a home. Some may have to wait more than a year for a place to rest their heads. Meanwhile, people who make much more than her are sleeping easy in a government apartment.
It's very aggravating.
The Johnson City Housing Authority is home to the largest number of households that made the most money last year. 7 took home more than $50,000, and 1 made almost $77,000 last year.
That's way over what I'm making, and I'm doing the best I can.
You're watching News Channel 11 in your corner at 6.
2 local utility districts and 4 people who've worked for them are now at the center of a mystery that's left them on paid administrative leave. Thanks again for joining us at 6. I'm Josh Smith. Sarah Diamond has the evening off. Thousands of customers in Greene and Washington counties rely on Chuckey and Cross Anchor utility districts to get their water every day. Now some of the leaders of those utilities have been called into question, and community watchdog Nate Morabito found out that they're all related.
I come in here maybe once every 3 or 4 months to pay my bill.
Les Gwynn came here today to pay his monthly water bill. The 17-year Chuckey Utility District customer says not once has he ever suspected anything but great customer service here.
They've always treated me right. Good people to talk to. I've never had any problems.
But inside, the acting manager's door is locked. Nearby, a plaque hangs on the wall thanking the manager's mother for all of her years of dedication and service to this place. The board president says the 2 are among 4 employees now on paid administrative leave. He says they include retired manager Shirley Collins, her husband, Inspector Willie Collins, their daughter, acting manager Candy Jennings, and her husband, license operator Bill Jennings. Exactly what they're accused of, if anything, remains a mystery. But a possible state audit could bring answers.
The man who audits these utility districts every year says he was just getting ready to do this year's audit, asking questions, looking at documents, when he came across some information he thought the comptroller of Tennessee needed to see.
We just said to have a retirement party for Shirley because she had been manager for so many years, out of respect for her.
When Cross Anchor Utility Board members gave the go-ahead for the district to throw a send-off for their outgoing leader, Secretary Lynn Foshee says they expected it to be reasonable, but he admits they never set any guidelines for the cost.
We trusted them to do that and do the right thing.
And they didn't.
Evidently not.
Now they're learning the utilities spared no expense. The party itself, according to board members, wasn't all that memorable.
I went, I ate, and I left.
But the cost won't be something they soon forget. Dinner alone cost $1,944 and included 40 racks of ribs, 50 pounds of pulled pork, corn pudding, and baked beans. Foshee thinks that cost was reasonable for the roughly 50 people who attended. But then we told him how much the utilities paid for the rentals.
Does that bother you looking back on it?
Yeah, it does.
The total cost paid to Grand Rental Station, around $2,800.
It's a retirement party. She had been here a long time, but that's a lot of money for just rentals.
Does any of these numbers bother you?
Well, yes, they do. They really do. There's some extravaganza there that really should have been avoided.
Among the items rented, 3 tents for $940, an inflatable water slide for $275, an inflatable movie screen and projector, the cost $260, a PA system for $150, a slush machine, $55, hot dog machine, $40, cotton candy machine, $40, and spooky fruity grape-flavored cotton candy mix for $5.99. We found another $1,700 in miscellaneous and other expenses related to the party. Among those costs, $300 for a Beatles cover band, $194 for a sheet cake with toy trucks on it, and $451 for a couple of leather guest books and journals, 2 of which had inscriptions honoring Collins for setting, quote, an example to be followed. Food, rentals, and other expenses combined, the total bill for the Retirement Fun Fest came in at $6,452. Board members say they're partly to blame for the lack of control at this office.
I think we trusted people to do their job and had been well pleased up until last year.
They say they put their trust in the wrong people and never authorized the actual expenses.
I think this has been going on for a while. I don't know. I'm just hoping we get to the bottom of something and can see. I mean, I guess we trusted too much in the manager.
They say in the future they'll be more aware of the day-to-day operations here and how much money the utility spends. Customer Bill Guess hopes so.
You know what it sounds like to me? They just give her a checkbook and open up the bank to them.
It's the best kept secret from parents, but kids know about it, or think they do.
Well, we're talking about Molly, not the girl next door, but rather a club drug whose dangerous effects are really being underestimated.
It is the street name for MDMA, and it has a reputation of being a pure, safer form of ecstasy. But law enforcement say that's anything but.
The real danger lies in the unknown. It is rarely being sold as pure. Rather, it's a potentially lethal cocktail of some different drugs that can include anything from cocaine to meth, even bath salts. News Channel 11's Kylie McGivern is in your corner, gauging the growing grasp of Molly in the Tri-Cities and sitting down with those who know its deadly effects.
It's a story that captured the nation's attention. News of a 19-year-old Abingdon native and UVA student who died hours after taking Molly.
Got a phone call at 2:30 in the morning from one of Shelley's friends saying you got to come to D.C. She's on her way to the emergency room. Cardiac arrest.
Shelley Goldsmith was one of 4 in a string of deaths seemingly linked to the club drug. While folks across the country couldn't look away, at home, Shelley's family struggled to look their new reality in the eye.
It makes me crazy, but I'll be fine. We'll get through it. It's just unbelievable. I'm sorry. I try not to lose it.
Shelley took Molly when she was visiting friends in Washington, D.C. before heading to an electronic dance music concert.
She was the child that never caused us any concern, any problems.
But one of her closest childhood friends growing up, Allie Widener, didn't have to go to a big city to get the glorified drug. Instead, she got it here, in Abingdon.
I remember just feeling like I was part of the music.
Allie vividly remembers the high.
Like the notes were just like in my blood, like running through me.
But it's the debilitating low, she says, that stayed with her.
It's kind of like your brain goes into like super neurotransmitter spastic heaven. And when you come down from that, it's like your brain doesn't know what to do. And it's kind of like your brain's just left there like it's been beat with a spoon or something. You know, they call it Suicide Tuesday. After you take it on the weekend, by the time Tuesday comes around, you're so miserable that some people have actually committed suicide.
With Molly, the danger is in the disguise. Much like methamphetamine, only the manufacturer truly knows what the drug is being cut with.
The DEA tested what they had confiscated as Molly from 2008 to 2012. 87% contained no MDMA. It was 100% other drugs.
For users, it's a game of Russian roulette with a pill.
Though it's considered a pure form of MDMA, which is found in ecstasy, a lot of times you not only find ecstasy, but methamphetamine, as well as other forms of MDMA within that drug. Some of the examples of Molly here at the Washington County Sheriff's Office. One is a darker white form that you can see here. Others filled with what looks to be more like sand. Another form that's coming up when it comes to Molly. This right here is an example of ecstasy, but you can see it looks like sweethearts, which is something they're also discovering when they're finding different forms of Molly in various clubs.
Both the Kingsport Police Department and the Carter County Sheriff's Office say there are several ongoing investigations of distribution and sale, but cannot comment further at this time. As for the Johnson City Police Department, we're told less than 5 cases that they're aware of within the last year.
The trends usually come here. This takes a little bit longer for it to get here.
Back in Bristol, Allie, a self-proclaimed avid drug user who has tried everything except acid and heroin, shared that she and Shelly took different paths in high school.
She just gave me that look, the grin and the look like you know better and you shouldn't be doing that.
Allie struggles to find the reason it was Shelly's life that was taken and not her own.
That could have very easily have been me. It should have been me, but for some reason it wasn't. And so I'm trying to figure out what that reason was, I guess, and trying to let Shelly live through me.
In the months since Shelly's passing, Allie has begun a fight to raise awareness about the dangers of Molly.
I want to repay the favor and be a good friend to her like she was to me. And if I can stop anyone else from having to go through this, any parent or any family or any community, then that's really what I want to do. And I know Shelly's supporting that.
So the question now is, how much damage, how much carnage will there be between now and the time when young people figure out that this is not safe?
It's a question the Goldsmiths hope has already been answered, the carnage ending in the death of their daughter, so the girl next door does not move in on another family. In Abingdon, Kylie McGivern, News Channel 11, in your corner.
You're watching News Channel 11 in your corner at 5.
When Jackie and Robert came in with the casket, Jackie still had blood on her dress.
50 years ago, a Kingsport man found himself standing in the footsteps of history. Tonight, he shares his experience as one of the chosen few to stand guard over President John F. Kennedy's casket. Ask almost anyone who was alive 50 years ago today, and they could tell you exactly where they were, what they were doing when they learned about the assassination of an American president, John F. Kennedy. Good evening, I'm Josh Smith.
And I'm Sarah Diamond. For a Kingsport man, the death of President Kennedy meant a somber assignment. He stood guard over the body of one of the nation's most beloved leaders.
Jim McClellan shared his story with News Channel 11's David McAvoy.
From Dallas, Texas, the flash, apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time.
I think I probably turned white.
November 22nd, 1963.
Really a lump in your throat. You didn't know what to think. You just couldn't believe that the president was shot.
Jim McClellan was 26 years old, a member of the Air Force Honor Guard stationed at Bolling Air Force Base in Washington, D.C.
Come across the loudspeaker on the base for all of us to report back.
McClellan and 19 other men were assigned the duty of standing guard over President John F. Kennedy's body. He was at the White House when JFK's family arrived from Dallas with the casket.
When Jackie and Robert came in with the casket, Jackie still had blood on her dress. I heard once Jackie said something to Robert, and then Robert said the casket will stay closed.
For the next 3 days, McClellan got very little sleep, working 15 to 30-minute shifts at the footsteps of history.
You couldn't blink. You couldn't. If you blinked, you didn't have another shift. You could let the tears fall down, but you couldn't wipe them. And
you have tears while you were standing?
Oh, I have tears all the time.
On duty for perhaps the most poignant moment of that somber week, McClellan was just a few feet away when 3-year-old John Jr. rendered a salute to his slain father's casket.
That is one of probably the most saddest part of that funeral. The Navy guy that stood across from me, the tears coming out of his eyes looked like a water faucet. And all of us had tears in our eyes.
In Kingsport, David McAvoy, News Channel 11, in your corner.
Well, it's not uncommon to get a new computer every several years. Many people delete the files or what they're calling wipe their computer in hopes of giving it away or selling it. But all of your photos, your tax returns, credit card statements are really not gone. So News Channel 11 decided to see what it takes to really destroy that information for good.
3, 2, 1.
Before we destroyed our computers, we first wanted to find out how they worked. So we went to our friends at Stable Convergence in Johnson City to give us a quick tutorial. Ted Bradford and his team have pulled information from several computers their clients thought were beyond hope.
I have done a data recovery on a machine that had been formatted twice. So everything erased, operating system put back on. I pulled off the very first document that was ever saved on that machine.
Bradford says the key to retrieving data is in what's called the computer's platters. The platters hold all of your secrets.
This is where all of your financial data and your kids' pictures and your music and all of that stuff live on the inside of your computer.
I told Ted that I had saved, then erased a file on all 5 test computers. It was up to him to try to retrieve the file, appropriately labeled top secret.
We'll just treat it like a true data forensic recovery, and we'll go get your stuff and we'll see what we can shake out.
So, now that we learned where the memory lies, it was time to put them to the test.
3, 2, 1.
Our first stop, the roof of the station. Woo! That one did a little damage. The second test,
how about this?
The baseball bat. Our co-workers got involved with this one, trying to do as much damage as possible. Our third test took us to Stanley's on North Rhone Street. They were kind enough to destroy our next computer with a blowtorch. Now keep in mind, I did not tell anyone in which part of the computer the secrets were stored. Test number 4 brought us to Boone Lake, where our computer took a dip. Our final test put the computer up against heavy machinery. Our bulldozer driver friend had great aim as he annihilated our computer. There was really nothing left of the tower after that, just a lot of broken pieces. Okay, so here are all of the platters and everything. Take us through each one and tell us what you did or did not get off of each one.
That was your bulldozer.
Okay.
We open it up. This is our platter. This is where all the data is held. I don't know if you guys can see it or not, that there's a dent in the platter.
And that did it. That ruined it.
That did it. Anytime the platter is either warped or dented, there's no way to really recover the data off of it. The water drive, there was nothing wrong with that.
It was perfect.
We put it in a bag of rice. It dried out. We've got some files to show you here in just a second.
Okay.
The person with the Louisville Slugger on the bat managed to get a lucky hit on the side of the drive, which damaged the platter. That's this one.
Okay.
My other favorite is the torch. Not a normal house fire, but it got so hot inside of the drive itself, the plastic vaporized.
Oh, goodness.
And made a nice little film on the platter. Still cleaned it, but it got hot enough to bend, and the heads weren't able to read it.
Okay, so that one's done.
That one's done. The rooftop, fine. No.
Really? We threw it off the roof and you still got files off of it.
No problem. Got files off of it. Easy, easy.
Oh my goodness.
Let's open up what we got off the water. There's your top secret, Doc.
There's my file.
Yep, there's your top secret file that we found.
What advice would you give somebody who's like, okay, I'm done with my computer, what do I do with it?
Hammer. Hammer time. If you're truly that worried about the data, pull the hard drive. It's really not difficult to do. We can be more than happy to provide a link to show you how to do that in most machines, and just go outside and wail on it. That's the best method of taking care of it, making sure that no one's going to get your stuff.
Okay, so bottom line, even if you think your computer is wiped, probably isn't. So get out your baseball bat, your blowtorch, or your friendly neighborhood bulldozer operator and have them take care of it. We also have some raw footage of us destroying all these computers, and believe me, we had a lot of fun doing it. If you'd like to see it and the story again, go to WJHL.com.
You're watching News Channel 11 in your corner at 11.
First tonight, some breaking news in downtown Bristol. A person is dead after a crash that closed a section of State Street.
Bristol, Virginia police confirmed it happened just before 9 o'clock tonight. We're talking 3 blocks of State Street that have been closed because of the 2-car collision. News Channel 11's Mike Lamia is at the scene. Mike, what are you seeing there? What have you found out from police?
Josh, what we know so far is that the crash occurred just before 9 o'clock, and it's a 2-vehicle crash. And I don't know if you can see right behind me, but there's a ton of police cars. And right behind me, you can see this red van. The red van, you can see the left side is actually completely caved in. The windshield is damaged, and the door on the left, on the driver's side, is damaged as well. But I wish I could say that this is the worst car in the crash, but actually there was a fatality in this crash, and it's just up the street near the Paramount. What I'm told is that the 2 cars were driving on opposite sides of the road and they collided. And the one car that the fatality was involved is all the way down at the Paramount. There is a white sheet over that car right now. I'm told that they are Ohio State license plate, and that's all we know right now. We don't know the situation, why the cars were damaged this heavily, because if you know of State Street, the speed limit is pretty low, so the fact that these cars are damaged so heavily leaves a lot of questions unanswered. But right now, police tell me that they are investigating. We will be speaking with police throughout the rest of the show, and we'll bring you the updates as they become available. Live in Bristol, Mike Lamia, News Channel 11, in your corner.
Our most wanted roundup continues here tonight. We are in Johnson City, where just a few moments ago, a tip from one of our viewers led to an arrest at this residence. This is how it has worked tonight. Within the past few moments, sheriff's departments have told us they've made at least 2 arrests. We have been able to find out that also more tips are being processed at this moment. You are looking live at the arrest that's taking place here, the result of our most wanted roundup, as our viewers have been calling in tips throughout the evening. And this is not over yet. We have been equipped and have been helping to equip law enforcement with all sorts of locations. At this hour, at least 3 active arrests are being committed or being taking place right around the region right now. We want to say thank you to all of our viewers who have been calling. This information is also up on our website tonight, WJHL.com.
Well, clean drinking water is something that a lot of folks may take for granted.
Something more than 100 people in Sullivan County, though, continue to live without tonight. The water that comes out of the taps in the Denton Valley community near Bristol, it smells and it looks terrible. In fact, homeowners there are really afraid to drink their water, unsure of exactly what's in it. Well, thanks to our community watchdog, they now know what's living in their water, and it's not necessarily good news. Since our community watchdog first started asking questions in October, this community's gotten closer and closer to securing the clean water they need. But it is not a done deal yet. Our latest community watchdog investigation could give the community the final push it needs. In a special report tonight, News Channel 11's Nate Morabito found out it appears their water may not be safe to drink.
Rural Denton Valley, home to farms and plenty of water. A beautiful but potentially dangerous combination. It may look pristine on the surface, but what lies beneath is far from clean.
It tastes like rotten eggs.
75-year-old Norman Roberts is scared of the water that comes out of his tap.
You just don't really know what's in it.
He's sure there's sulfur and iron ore, but the rest remains a mystery, one he'd love to solve.
I've never drank a cup of water out of that faucet.
Isn't it sad?
Yeah.
Many in his community don't trust the water from their well. That's why their storerooms and fridges are stocked with bottled water.
I just don't feel secure about it.
15 minutes down the road in the city limits of Bristol, it's a whole different story.
I have been places where it wasn't too good, and there's a big difference.
Paul Geiger couldn't be happier with his city water.
It's always been everything I could expect out of water.
So how much better off is he than the others?
Just open it. This is a sterile bottle already. Fill it to the top, seal it.
We solicited the help of East Tennessee State University to find out.
You want to run it for at least a minute so you're getting straight from the well.
The Department of Environmental Health gave us all the tools required for the job.
This is for the bacteria.
The one thing you wouldn't want in your water is bacteria.
That's the biggest thing.
All right, so we have what we need to properly test the water. All we have to do now is turn on the taps.
And that's just what we did.
You're more than welcome to test it.
We collected samples at all 3 homes, 2 of which rely on wells, 1 city water.
Should let you know in 24 hours.
Shortly after, the results came in.
Not surprisingly, the water from the city of Bristol was crystal clear.
Unfortunately, we couldn't say the same for Norman Roberts and Connie Hilliard's water.
The results are in, and we found E. coli in both of your all's wells.
Oh, my.
Wow.
E. coli? That's dangerous, isn't it?
The news caught them off guard.
That's
We don't-
unbelievable.
My goodness.
Did you think it was that bad?
No.
No.
The 2 sat on this couch for more than 15 minutes. The wind clearly knocked out of them.
You just look in disbelief, Norman.
It's hard for me to believe, Nate, that E. coli is in those wells.
Is it a safety concern?
Well, it could be.
ETSU environmental health professor Dr. Phil Scheuerman analyzed the results.
It's probably not the age of the well, it's how the land was used. The numbers that we saw were really low, but still they would violate the public drinking water standard, so, there's a possibility of exposure to pathogens in that water.
Dr. Scheuerman wouldn't be overly concerned had people been drinking this water for years. By now, their bodies would have likely built up a tolerance. But what about those who've never had a drink from their tap?
What if you've never tasted that water? Is now a good time to start?
Probably not, no.
That is shocking.
Yes, it is. I have no idea that it was that bad.
Don't worry. You can bet these 2 will keep their taps off, at least for now.
Thank you so very much for helping us to understand what we have got out here, man. We didn't have any idea that it was that bad. We just thought it was sulfur and iron ore,
Okay, that's it for News Channel 11, but we have a lot of high school gridiron action. Kenny has highlights for our kickoff week of Touchdown Friday night. Take it away, Hawk.
Thanks a lot, Sarah. Coming up next on the award-winning Touchdown Friday night, we'll head to Brown Children's Stadium where Elizabethan and Daniel Boone renewed an old rivalry. At the Falcons' Nest, Volunteer was hoping to turn away the Happy Valley Warriors. And it was a dogfight in Hampton where the Bulldogs hosted the Unicoi County Blue Devils.
Hi, I'm Dale Jarrett, former Sprint Cup champion and ESPN analyst for NASCAR Racing now. Kenny and Casey are up next with Touchdown Friday night.
DJ was in the booth earlier. Now he's watching Touchdown Friday night. We'll have those games plus racing for the world's fastest half-mile oval next on Touchdown Friday night. Stay with us.
5 fire departments battled flames that shot up to 40 feet in the air as fire ripped through a Tri-City strip club. Crews from Gray, Sulphur Springs, Fall Branch, Jonesboro, and Avoca battled that fire for hours. The club was closed at the time of the fire. When the fire began, no one was injured. As the investigation continues, News Channel 11's Chris McIntosh takes a look at what the employees at the Mouse's Ear are going to do next.
I was sad. I was in bed and I got up and put my clothes on and came up here to see what was going on. I didn't expect all that.
Brittany Bowen could only watch as her workplace for the last 8 months was destroyed. She's among the 25 to 30 employees that worked and danced at the Mouse's Ear.
This is like my second home. I had so much stuff in that building. All my stuff for work gone.
You're watching News Channel 11 in your corner at 6.
Help me, I'm Amanda Berry. Hello?
Amanda.
Yeah, Grandma.
Yeah, are you?
From one call filled with fear to another, capturing unbelievable joy, 3 women held captive in a Cleveland home for years get to make the call they thought they'd never get to do. Although they were out of sight, they were never out of mind. Tonight, News Channel 11 shares the exclusive raw reaction of an Elizabethan family who got the call they've been praying for. Again, good evening. Thanks for being here. I'm Josh Smith.
And I'm Sarah Diamond. It's being called a miracle. 3 women kidnapped and held hostage for nearly a decade, free tonight, found alive in the same Cleveland home.
And we were there today when Amanda Berry called her family in Elizabethan for the first time in 10 years.
Amazing.
Some background on the investigation. Amanda, as well as Gina DeJesus, Michelle Knight, and a 6-year-old child were freed from a house yesterday in a Cleveland neighborhood. April 21st, 2003, the night before her 17th birthday. Amanda disappeared after leaving her job at a Burger King restaurant a few blocks from her home. The women were found after neighbors say Berry kicked the door, screamed for help, and made a dramatic 911 call to police.
I've been kidnapped and I've been missing for 10 years, and I'm here. I'm free now.
Due to Amanda's brave actions, these 3 women are alive today.
And today, police called her a hero.
And now she is calling the people she loves most to let them know that she is safe.
Nate Morabito was there for that phone call. Nate?
Yeah, it still gives me chills thinking about hearing her voice this morning. Imagine how her family felt when they got that call. They're making arrangements to try and get up to see Amanda as soon as possible. Unfortunately, Amanda's mom, a Cleveland native, died 3 years after she disappeared. But her sister, pictured here with Amanda last night, still lives in Cleveland. And there's also a new addition to the family, a family with ties to the Tri-Cities.
Hello.
When Crystal Milton answered the phone,
Hi.
she...
Is that Amanda? Mandy. Let me speak to her.
And her grandparents couldn't believe...
It's so good to hear you.
...who was on the other end of the line.
Let me say hi to her. Can you?
After 10 years of waiting, Amanda Berry's grandmother couldn't wait to hear her voice any longer.
Hello? Amanda.
Yeah, Grandma.
How are you?
I'm fine.
The last time the two talked, Amanda was just 16.
I'm glad to have you back. Oh, I thought you were gone.
Nope, I'm here.
At one time, most of Berry's family lived in Cleveland. But Amanda's dad and grandparents moved back to Elizabethan more than a decade ago.
We always spent our summers together.
Still, the family never lost touch until 2003.
I was up there about a month before she came up missing.
10 long years passed, and hope faded.
I never thought we'd see this day.
But then came a series of phone calls, first to 911.
Help me, I'm Amanda Berry.
And then after her rescue to Tennessee.
We're happy down here for you.
Thank you so much. I miss everybody. I love you guys so much.
Despite the relief, Berry's family knows her alleged kidnappers stripped away much of her innocence.
The little girl is your baby.
Yeah, she's my daughter.
In fact, she now has a 6-year-old daughter.
Born on Christmas.
Soon,
we got to get together soon.
I know it.
All of the family members,
I'm ready to go right now to see her.
New and old, will see each other.
I have a little girl named Christina, and she wants to meet you. I've talked about you all these years.
The unexpected reunion is long overdue.
Miracles do happen.
And perhaps no one is happier about it than Berry's grandmother.
But I love you, honey. Thank God.
I love you too.
I've thought about you all this time. I never forgot you.
You can imagine why it was so difficult for her to say goodbye.
She sounds great. She does. She sounds good. Yeah. Thank God. Yeah.
Police say the people responsible for Berry's kidnapping 3 brothers are now in custody. Meanwhile, there are reports that police may have missed some earlier opportunities to find the 3 missing women. Neighbors of the house where the women were found say police were called twice in recent years to investigate suspicious activity there. Josh?
Her father, he's still in the area, right?
Yeah, he lives in Elizabethan as well. Berry's dad did not want to talk on camera today. He's dealing with some medical issues, but he told me he never lost hope. He said there are no words to describe what he's feeling. Johnny Berry says his daughter called him last night around 11 o'clock and told him, "Hi, Daddy, I'm alive. I love you. I love you. I love you." And then they both cried.
So happy for this family. Nate Morabito. Nate, thank you so much.